Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So just seeing there's a few people online, that's good. So I promised last night that we would do stretching tonight, so that's what I'm doing. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the photographic video from last night. Just check in on the video from last night, see if it's, make sure it went up, make sure there's okay. So tonight I'm going to be doing talking about stretching. Okay, so that's thoracic stretching, so the upper half of the body. Now I've talked before about freediving and yoga. Yoga's fantastic for everything really. Yoga's as a system, as a complete system, is very good. Has lots of health benefits in itself, but one of them happens to be flexibility. And if you're doing what I would consider as a proper yoga, if you want to use that word, or complete yoga is a better word, then you will be doing all body flexibility, so flexibility for the entire body, which is fantastic. But with freediving, there's some very specific things we need to be able to do, to allow our body to do, and we need to be able to do them effortlessly. Okay, so the first part is we look at the shoulders. So in No Tanks, when we're training on a Wednesday night, we'll talk about the basic position, which is the hands above the head. Now, quite a few people, in fact, I went to Russia in 2003 to study fin swimming, and I came back and I went to the Cyprus World Championships, or the Cyprus Sony Championships, run by Howard Jones, who is the forgotten hero of freediving. But before that, I went to Nice, and I did a competition there, and Francois was there, and a couple of other people. And they said, but this position is a very tense position. And I said, well, yeah, it is, unless you practice it. And the more you practice it, you'll get more comfortable with it, and then you'll be able to do it effortlessly. And they were, no, I'm not convinced. And at the time, early 2000s, the French were monofining with their hands apart to give a nice amplitude. And still you'll see some people diving like that. There was, however, one guy, I can't remember his name, I think it was Guillaume, who was very interested, and he took me aside and he said, Marcus, can you tell me about this fin swimming and this basic position that they have? And I gave him some exercises to do. I gave him some really simple monofinning warm-ups, and he did them, and I think he went to join a fin swimming club as well to kind of develop that. And next time I went to Nice, I gave him a pair of training fins as a present, and he was happy, and he trained. And now Guillaume's monofinning is beautiful. He spent many years really training it, and he can get into the basic position very easily. So what do we look for in the basic position, or in what we're aiming for in the basic position? So that's a very hydrodynamic position. But equally well, if I turn sideways, you'll see that I'm trying to get the angle between my back, okay, and my arms. I don't want an angle like this, okay. I want to be able to straighten up, okay, and let's see if we can get the angle right, okay. So I want to get the angle down here, very not much of an angle. So the hands should be not like this, but straight up. And then the head can be in a neutral position and be kind of covered by the arms. So it's hydrodynamic. You don't want the head hanging out, catching water, or obviously you don't want to be looking where you're going, again catching the water. Okay, so this is what we're looking for in the basic position. And you'll see on the video that I put the other day, the fin swimming, which you can look on YouTube. There's lots of world championships and European championships. The video I put the other day shows a lot of them underwater, and they're not like this. Their elbows are kind of almost touching behind the head. Okay, so that's what we're looking for a basic position. But more than that, we need to be able to move in this position. So getting into the basic position is part one, but actually being able to move the chest and the shoulders is even more flexibility. Okay, so and people say quite a lot, especially these days. There's a lot of there's a kind of a fad. No, there's quite. What's the word? There's a lot of people at the moment swimming with their hands down beside them, which is absolutely valid. And we break position in no tanks. We'll get to a certain depth and we break position. And when you're stereo finning, especially stereo finning, but in dynamic and in depth, it's kind of trendy to have your hands down beside you because you're not moving so fast, so the hydrodynamics aren't as essential as when you're with a monofin. Right? But you need to learn the basic position. You need the flexibility from the basic position, even if you don't use it, because one day you might need to use it and you don't want to be going, oh, I can't do that. If you're deep and you want to move reasonably quickly, you need to get it. If you're monofinning, you need to have the basic position, because just physics states if you have your hands beside you and you start trying to monofin, the pivot point is about here, and there's just literally not much of you above the pivot point. As soon as you put your hands above you, there's a lot more above the pivot point, and becomes a lot more efficient. So you need the basic position to have efficient monofinning. And yes, you will break position as you sink and as you float, but you need to be able to snap into the basic position and then move. Okay, so it's super important with your stereo finning, and definitely if you're monofinning. Okay. So that's the shoulders, but the upper back then needs to be able to move. Okay, so we have spinal flexibility, and while we're talking about thoracic and upper body flexibility, we really want to look at the bedtime stretches again. So I made a little video, watch and enjoy. First stretch we're going to do is a doorway stretch, super easy, and we can do it multiple times during the day. So all I'm going to do is place my hands above the door and try and touch my shoulder blades together. So from the front, I place my hands, and I make sure my shoulders are pulling down away from my ears, and then my shoulders stay above my hips as I step through the door. Okay. And I try and allow the chest to move forwards, keeping my arms reasonably straight, and we should be able to find a position that we can hold, and we feel the stretch here and on the shoulders. And it's not a dynamic stretch, it's a static stretch. Therefore we have to hold it for more than 25 seconds. So if you hold it for 30 seconds, that's a good amount of time to hold it. Once you've held it for 30 seconds, relax, shake out. I like to change legs, but it doesn't really matter as long as the hips stay underneath the shoulders, and allow that chest to come through. Remember, we're trying to touch the shoulder blades together. There's no tension in the neck, the head can move. And after 30 seconds, second time, we can shake out. An extension to the doorway stretch is if you've got something in your house that's about waist height, we can do the same stretch. So we place our hands on top and try and get a 90-degree angle between the legs and the body, and assume basic position. You're not dropping your head down, you keep your head in a neutral position, and we try and push the chest towards the floor. So you may feel it in hamstrings, which is fine. You can bend your knees slightly, because we're trying to get an arching of the back. Okay. This is maybe a little bit low for me, so I need to bend my legs as well, but it's fine. For the chest, that's fine. And then in opposition to this, we try and close the armpits and bring the tailbone in to round the back. So we go from this position, down, up, down, pushing the sitting bones out. In this position we're separating the shoulder blades. In this position we're touching the shoulder blades together. We can do it as a dynamic stretch, so we can keep moving, or when we get into a nice stretch we can hold it for more than 25 seconds in the same way that we did the doorway stretch. So I would suggest you do something like 10 movements and then hold it for the end. Now the upper part of the spine is typically very stiff, especially in guys, so we need to open up those joints. So I have a foam roller and all I'm going to do is place it just under my shoulder blades, and I can feel my back, my spine opening up. Okay, we can make it more intense by putting the hands above our head, okay, or even lifting the hips slightly. Head in a neutral position and hold, and then move down and hold, and then move down and hold, move down, hold, move down, hold. If this is too intense, you can keep your hands here, let the head go back, relax. Okay, so we're not tight up here, hands are here and relaxed, and move down, and move down, and move down, and move down. In each position you want to hold for maybe 10 seconds, so slightly longer than I'm demonstrating here. So if you want, you can put into basic position. Try and keep your head in a neutral position, so spine straight, and we hold for 10 seconds, breathing into the diaphragm. Again, you can put the hips on the floor if it's a little bit too much, too intense, or you can lift to increase intensity. Then the next position, hold for 10 seconds, then the next position, and the next position, 10 seconds in each position. Another important stretch that we've been through before are bedtime stretches, but now we've got a setup where I can show you and demonstrate what it should look like. So for the bedtime stretches, I'm going to breathe out, lean forwards, hold my nose if it's the first time I've done this or I've not done it too many times before. Then I'm going to sit up, put my shoulders back, and then I'm going to push my belly out for the stretch. And I should feel the stretch here. I'll do the stretch twice before leaning forwards and relaxing. So, here we go. That's once through. So we're going to do the bedtime stretches twice as this, and then we're going to move on to a trachea stretch. Remember, this is a cartilagic stretch, so it's not like the stretches of tendons or muscles. This takes a long time for the cartilage to soften up and move. So we've really got to take our time, do it every day, and be aware of our body and what's happening. Shouldn't be pain, should feel some sort of tension on the chest where it's going inwards, but shouldn't be any pain. We should also try and avoid stretching so much we cough afterwards. So, and that's the bedtime stretches. So we'll do that twice, and then we'll do a trachea stretch. Now the trachea has also got cartilage around it, and we can soften that up as well. So it's the same movements to start with, except we don't push the belly out quite as hard, but then when we get to the top, we put the head back. So there's a fifth part to it. Okay, so and that's the bedtime stretches. Fantastic. So hopefully that helps you out on your stretches. A couple of people have been asking me about that. So doorway stretch, super important. So you can do it multiple times during the day. I found there's a sloping roof I have in the loft there, and it intensifies the stretch quite a lot for me, which is quite nice. Okay, but remember, we are moving the chest out. Okay, so we're touching the shoulder blades together in the stretch, and then relaxing back down, trying to keep the shoulders away from the ears, so we're not shrugging up, we're keeping them down. So it's a chest stretch. Okay, it's a chest stretch, and obviously a shoulder stretch at the same time. When you do, but that's a static stretch, so you want to hold the doorway stretch for 30 seconds or so, and then repeat maybe once, twice. Whereas the bending over one is a dynamic stretch and a static stretch. It's up to you which you do. Okay, so that's kind of what I wanted to cover tonight. They are super important to be doing, as well as movement. Now, as you know, there's three parts to training. So there's flexibility, strength, and technique. Okay, so if you've got the flexibility, that's all very well and good, but unless you've got the muscles, the strength to put your body through those positions, then you're kind of you're not going to be able to get into those positions anyway, even though you've got flexibility. So be aware of the positions, and be aware of how your body moves into them, and try and kind of feel how they are in the stretches. Okay. So there's an exercise called back burner, which I'm really digging at the moment, especially for this, which pulls all the back muscles up. Very simple, and you can give it a go. So you just lay on your front and put your thumbs up towards the sky, and you arch in your back. Okay, so you're lifting your head, you're not moving your head back, you're just lifting it, so it's not in a neutral position, it's tense, and the shoulders and the lats are pulling up. Okay, very simple. You hold like this, and then you put your arms out straight, 5 seconds, and then back, 5 seconds. So you're laying on your belly and exercising, and it's just an example of how you can develop the back muscles, which will allow you to move into the positions that you need during freediving, monofin in particular. Okay, so that's just an example of an exercise that really fits in with those stretches. Bedtime stretches, as I say, that's purely for equalisation, and we went over it last week, but I just, while I had the camera running, I thought I'd just show it as well. And you should be doing that every day. We call it bedtime stretches because you fit it into your daily routine. When you go to bed, you do the bedtime stretches. So moving forward to next week, I'm going to run through Bombilla on Monday. So soft palate control, not moving on, but actually developing the same techniques as you use with the ETT. Okay, so you will need a straw. Don't buy a straw. Please do not buy a straw, or don't. Just find one. You can use a rolled up piece of paper if you want, that's fine. Or if you've got a steel straw, that's fine to be using. Okay, so a straw, In fact, you can't use a rolled up piece of paper, because I'm just about to say, and you need a glass of water. But, you can do the exercises without the water. So if you haven't got a straw, you can use a rolled up piece of paper. If you've got a straw already, they're really bad for the environment, but you've already got it, so you might as well use it before throwing it away. But you can reuse it, so it's okay. Or a steel straw, obviously, you can use as many times as you like. So a glass with about an inch of water in it, and a straw. That's what you need on Monday for the Bombilla exercises. And this is soft palate control, and just something to exercise those muscles and your control of them. So I think that's pretty much it. I will Ted's just popped up and said, which episode did he talk about equalization? I will look it up now and let you know. Any other questions? In fact, I can tell you now, Ted, I talked about equalization twice, once with the ETT and once with stretches. So we played with, and they were quite early on in the first week. So I will look it up and let you know. Soft equalization. That was the other one with the ET. Yeah. So, okay. Well, I'll see you on Monday, and have a good weekend. Don't forget, keep a track of what you've been doing. Diary. You need a diary. Write out all the exercises you're doing, and kind of tally them up with the 10 aspects that we have with No Tanks training. If there's any missing, you know what you should be training. And if you're in lockdown at home, there's no reason why you can't be doing 2 or 3 things in a day. As long as you're not mixing, stressed breath holds. Okay, for instance, you can't do that twice in a day, but you can do theory. You can keep your mind sharp. You can do some stretching. You can do some physical exercises. You can do some stressed breath hold, cardio work. You can mix and match. Okay. So we'll see you Monday. Don't forget to bring a straw. Have a good weekend. Ciao, ciao.